What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome to episode 106 of the Rise to Glory, here with Gibraltar Apex, and today I have for you guys the start of our Champions League group stage campaign, as today we will be taking on Dynamo Zagreb. I'm hoping for a good performance here. We should talk about the group stage. If you missed last episode, it was the qualifying for the Champions League group stage, which of course, and as you might be able to tell by this video, we passed with flying colours as we beat Steaua Bucharest in what was ultimately not a particularly testing tie. Anyway, if we look at our Champions League group stage, we are in Group H, and well, what is significant about that? Well, the teams in our group are Manchester City, Bayern Munich, and Zagreb. Now, these are teams that we've played so many times before, it's kind of funny. You can see here, Man City actually won the competition last year, and they've won it a few times in recent years, so they're going to be a tricky team for us. Of course, Bayern Munich, a team we played fairly frequently over the last few years. Interestingly enough, and worth noting, we were third seeds in our group for this year, which is why Zagreb are in the group with us. But I do want to quickly look back at our Champions League ties, because I kind of feel like it's a little bit funny how many times we've met Manchester City, Bayern Munich and Zagreb. And for my own benefit, and I guess for you guys who maybe have skipped through the series to get to this point, maybe haven't watched every season, we have a bit of a record when it comes to these teams. You can actually see that last year in the group stage, we didn't play them. Last year was a fairly easy group stage, all things considering. The year before that, the 2027-28 year, we had Bayern Munich in our group. The year before that, we had Manchester City in our group. The year before that, we had Bayern Munich in our group. The year before that, who did we have? Oh, this was our first Champions League year. We didn't have them that year, although we did have Zagreb, who I believe we might have played again. Maybe it was a little bit earlier, but we've met Zagreb, not in the group stage before, but you can see we played them in the playoffs here. When else have we played them? We've played them again there. As you can see, these teams here are just weird teams that are coming up, and it's a little bit odd actually how many times we've met Bayern Munich in the Champions League, not group stage, but just one of those weird coincidences, I guess. I think it's a bit like Arsenal meeting Barcelona in the Champions League knockout stages in real life, I guess. Anyway, we have got a game to play, but since the last episode, a little bit's gone on, worth talking about. The first thing, I guess, of note, if we get to our current season, is the fact that if we sort by dates, you can see we won the Pepe Reyes Cup. We actually beat Gibraltar Lions 4-0. A really good performance, this one. One name here on the score sheet you guys might recognise. Worth noting, they actually had a penalty in the 9th minute. We then immediately countered and Joe Bouchard scored, which was a little bit odd. It was very kind of Watford-esque against, who was it? Leicester. It was against Leicester in the playoff semi-final. If you've never seen that clip of Troy Deeney scoring, it was like that, but without all the backstory behind it. But still, it was a thoroughly enjoyable goal to watch. You can see the name, however, that I was alluding to a second ago. The name that you might remember him, you might not. Nick Austin. Now, this guy's going to be surprisingly significant for us this year, I think. 19 years old, Australian. He actually joined us a few years ago now from Western Sydney Wanderers, and actually last year we loaned him to Gibraltar Lions, where he did fairly well for them. He got 9 goals in 14 appearances, and well, on his debut for us, he beat his former club. He scored against them as well in the 33rd minute. He's an interesting player, definitely one to keep an eye out on, and due to a few injuries in our first team, I've actually had to promote him from the reserves to the senior team. You can see here Van Dijk and Mulu out injured. Mulu out with a sports hernia for 3 to 4 weeks, but the most notable injury, Van Dijk, a fractured skull, out for 2 to 3 months. Now that's a horrible injury to get. Not only is the injury bad, but the length of it's bad, and it does impact us a little bit, especially with the Mulu injury as well. If you look at our striker options, we're left with Mitchell, who's a very good player and will probably start today in the Champions League. We then have Juan Carlos as well. We, of course, have Tuzon, and we have Nick Austin. And we also have a name here that you guys haven't seen before. Let's go to the transfer history of this episode. It's all flowing into itself. Here we have a new record transfer. Now, this is a gamble. This is one of those deals which I'm happy with now. Will I be in a few years? I don't know. We obviously have a history in this save of having fairly good Brazilian strikers. We had Alex, who we sold to Nottingham Forest. Before that, we had Jair. This guy, Mosca, is the next in line of our Brazilian strikers, and he comes in as a record transfer. Now, you'll notice that he's on loan back at Vasco, and actually, he's going to be on loan at them until the end of next season in Brazil, which is in about just over 12 months' time. It'll be a year in December that he comes and actually joins us permanently. I've signed him for £6 million, which, to be honest, is a lot of money, but I'm impressed by this guy. My scouts have bigged him up a lot. He's got 16 goals in 32 games prior to signing to us. Obviously, we've signed him and then loaned him back. You can see he's now made 4 appearances and scored 3 goals. He looks like a very good player. He's only 18. He's yet actually to play for the Brazilian national team. He was a player who my scouts picked up on and just were like, get him if you can. And I kind of turned around to them and said, well, get him then. We'll do that. I will invest and I will trust you. Now, I mentioned he's a risk, and he's not so much a risk, I don't think, because of his ability, because I think he looks like a very good player. He kind of suits the advanced forward role, with the exception of his lack of dribbling. But you can see he's a very good striker at a very young age of only 18. Although he has actually got a birthday coming up at the end of the month. But the risk that's involved here is, if we look at his report, he might have problems with injuries. Now, this is one of these things where I probably wouldn't have done this transfer a few years ago, but as I've mentioned in a number of episodes, the last few years, I've been looking for that long-term striker option, that player who I can bring in, hopefully develop, and really make something of. And I think this guy has that factor. He has the potential to improve. He's performing well. He's a consistent performer. He's physically strong. His personality could be a little bit problematic, being unsporting, but we can tutor that out of him, I hope. But the injuries. Now, if he's a Daniel Sturridge and when he's fit, he bangs in goals for us and he's fit at the right times, I'll be happy. If it backfires completely, I will look back on this episode 106 with regret. But I think he's going to be a good player for us. I like the look of him. He's 18. He's got some potential. He's joined us for £6.5 million, which, whilst it is a record transfer, it's hardly really breaking the bank for our club. You can see we still have 15 million in the overall balance. That money was there to be spent. And he was the best striker option that my scouts had recommended. And a player who I've been monitoring for a little while, but on deadline day I decided it was time to dig into my pockets and actually decide to, proceed with the transfer. So I'm glad that we got it done. And a player to keep an eye out on. I mean, I've talked about this guy for a few minutes now. He's not even here until next year, but definitely a player worth keeping an eye out on. Anyway, let's get into the Champions League game today. You'll notice that Ludwig Jung is with a knock. He's actually stubbed his finger. He's out for 1 day. I think we're going to play him through that injury, however, and see how he gets on. I've got to do a little bit of squad management here. In fact, let's ask my assistant and then go off his kind of changes. To be fair, my assistant seems to do a fairly good job of picking the team that I'd pick, so I can't complain too much. We'll bring in JJ for Mora, Mendes out wide, Paul Smith, Nick Austin. Do I want to start him ahead of Mitchell? I don't think I do. As much as I do rate Nick Austin, and he's obviously a very good young striker who I want to give some chances to, he's not ready to start a Champions League game, I don't think. He's still very young, and we do have alternative players like Mitchell who have already proven themselves at this stage in the competition. Anyway, I'm going to make my final change, and I'm actually going to take off Romero and put on Howell. Actually, am I going to do that? The reason I say am I going to do that is because normally I'm not too bothered about putting a keeper on the bench. However, with Ludwig Jung having a knock, it's probably an unnecessary risk. So actually, my assistant, I'm going to hold my hands up. You were right. I shouldn't have done that, and I'm sorry. Right, this is the team we're going to go with anyway. Got some nice coverage. We've got pretty much every position on the pitch represented, which is always good. And let's see if we can get a good result here. Against Zagreb, we are the favourites going into this game. Of course, they are the lower seed than us. They are the 4th seed in this group. Looking at it, they're still favourites. However, I'm hoping we can do something good here. I like the fact it says that we're a popular manager. We joined the club in 2015 and I've been in charge for 14 years. 14 years, that's like more than half of my life in real life. I can't imagine spending that long at a football club, or especially the same one. Anyway, I'm going to tell the players I expect them to pick up from where they left off. Worth noting, Young's morale still an issue. He's still a little bit upset that we didn't sell him to either Celtic or Bayern Munich during the transfer window. Didn't get a bid over £100,000 for him, which is difficult to justify selling your first choice goalkeeper when you get bids like that. Either way, I'm hoping he'll forgive me. We can get him on an extended contract. That's the dream. And I guess the dream here really is that we get a win against a familiar foe here in Zagreb. I'm hoping we can make something magical happen. Have one of, the games that we seem to have against this team. As Tuzon is through and Tuzon scores 2 minutes on the clock. And, well, it's 1-0. Great start. Tuzon, I believe he's top goal scorer in the Champions League because of all the goals he got in qualifying. I think we're at something like 38 goals with this goal so far in the entire competition, which is more than double anyone else or something ludicrous. Regardless, and lovely little finish there by Tuzon, squeezes it in. And well, after his season last year, I've got to be honest, I wasn't sure if Tuzon was going to be able to, keep that momentum going, if he was going to be as good as he was. However, he seems to be doing a pretty good job until he gashes his head. Now, do I want to take him off with a gashed head? I don't think we're going to. I think we're going to keep him on, at least initially. We'll see if he can shake it off. It's not like it's a massive injury and his head's fallen off. And, well, he scores whilst injured. So it's turned out to be a miraculous decision. Interesting to note here, when we view the 3D, he might have a bandage on his hand. Now, this is one of the feature editions, and indeed he does. I don't know if you can see this in the recording. I hope you can. He's got a little white bandage on his head. Now, that is a new thing in FM16, where if a player goes off with a head injury and comes back on and keeps playing, they will actually have like a white bandage around the head. Lovely little feature. You'd probably never notice that in your FMs, because most of the time people take off players with gashed heads and not everyone plays in 3D. But worth noting, I will give a gold star to the guy at Sports Interactive who came up with that. I like it as a little quirk, a little feature, and well, I'm liking it even more so that the fact that we're 2-0 up and, well, Tuzon's going to be looking for that hat-trick. My assistant is still telling me that he's gashed his head open. I'm hoping he's going to stop telling me. It's been 10 minutes and he's still going on about it. It's not great. But what is great is the fact that we are... Oh, don't get sent off. That could be a red. It looked like a bad tackle in 2D, and that's usually a sign it could be a red. Don't get sent off, Villalba. Okay, it's a yellow. Panic over, although, to be fair, our fullbacks have a reputation in Europe for being a little bit rough, so I'm hoping we're not going to see that from him. Now can we break? Tuzon switches it to Mendes. There is men over on this side. Mendes to Marquez. Ball in. Tuzon! He shoots. He gets the rebound. He gets the hat-trick. My game froze there for a second as he took the shot. I don't know if that was the match engine making calculations. Sitting there thinking, are we going to allow him to score the rebound? Tuzon probably should have scored the initial effort. Nice save by the keeper. But he gets a hat-trick after 15 minutes. And it's going quite well, isn't it, this first game of the group stage? It was never going to be an easy one, despite the fact we were playing against perhaps a weaker team. But we're doing our job here. Tuzon is probably going to be giving us an own goal. It is. Boban with the own goal. But it's 4-0, and, well, Tuzon gets the assist. It's Mitchell here who pulls the ball across. Smith, ball in the box. Tuzon heads it. It hits the crossbar and hits the keeper on the back. I mean, I feel a little bit bad watching it go in, but at the same time, we'll take it. It's 4-0. This is a demolition job, and, well, let me tell you now, I am glad I didn't take off Tuzon. I can now confirm, I feel officially, that a gashed head is not an injury you should take your player off, unless it's a bad gash, or if it doesn't stop bleeding, in which case, probably worth it. But nevertheless, it's 4-0 here. And, well, at half-time, I could not have an easier half-time team talk, could I, really? Goal difference, it's not a massive factor in these group stages, simply because head-to-head record comes ahead. So unless it's ourselves and Dynamo here, battling for that spot, these goals mean not a lot. If it comes to a head-to-head record for who gets second or first or third in the group. Either way, Tuzon straight from kickoff. Oh, he's offside. He's offside. I got excited then for a second. You know what? Tuzon, he has got this injury. He's played very, very well. Let's not aggravate it. Let's bring on Nick Austin. Let's give him a chance. It's not very often in Europe you're going to have a chance with kind of 35 minutes left in the game to bring on an 18-year-old striker without kind of worrying too much about whether or not he scores. But this is a chance for him to go on and, give a little account of himself, perhaps. I believe this is his live commentary debut, so no pressure, Nick. You have just come on for a player who scored a hat-trick and got an assist, so I am expecting fireworks. But all in all, this has been a very convincing performance. Even if it just ends 4-0 now or 4-1 or, nothing changes at all, it's a good result. It's a great way to start. Obviously, the 3 points are the main things, but the nature of this result, it's been a good performance. You look at the stats, Zagreb have really struggled in this game. They've had more of the ball, despite being the away team, but they've just not done a lot with it. And, well, they've left us now in a situation where we can just make some changes. We can bring on centre-backs at full-back just to give them some game time. And, well, that is going to be all she wrote. It's going to finish 4-0 here. And, well, assuming the ball goes clear, which it does, that's going to be a very, very kind of standard win. We've shut up a lot of people after that. No one gave us a chance. Very proud of you boys. We go top of the group. Manchester City, the holders, also winning. They beat Bayern Munich 2-1. So that's an interesting result. I can't remember if I said at the start of the episode if I was going to do 2 games this episode. I am going to do 2 games this episode. We're going to be taking on Bayern Munich away in the next game. That's going to be at the Allianz Arena. Hopefully I'll see you guys for that one. Stick around and yeah, let's get into it. Okay guys, so we are back here for the second game of this episode. We're taking on Bayern Munich away. Never going to be easy. Just one game to tell you guys about since the last match. It was actually only a 2-0 win. A bit of a bizarre game really. I went into this game and pretty much completely rotated the squad. Gave a lot of younger players a run out in the league here. Wasn't the most convincing of performances in terms of scoreline. As you can see, we won 2-0 with a late goal really in the 91st minute from Christian Mendes. But statistically, we were in control of this game. Angels didn't have a shot on goal at all game. Really, kind of surprised that we didn't do more with the ball. We probably should have scored a few more, but nevertheless, it was a convincing win, even if the scoreline wasn't all that great. Either way, let's get into today's game. Of course, Bayern Munich lost their first group stage game, so that's not great for them. They're going to be wanting to bounce back. In terms of team stuff, I realised there was one player I didn't talk about earlier in this episode who I signed since the last episode. That was Leo Palmer. He's an Englishman. I believe we signed him from Huddersfield, if I remember correctly. We did indeed. You can see we signed him from the Championship club. He's been on loan for a number... not on loan. He's been kind of in and out of their team for a number of years. And you can see he was out on loan for a little bit. Didn't make too many games and too many appearances. I was looking for a centre-back really just to add a bit of depth to the squad, a fourth or fifth choice centre-back. He kind of ticks those boxes and he's not a terrible centre-back. So we decided to bring him in. The thing I really like about him really is that despite his real kind of lack of any agility, he's still a very strong player physically, has some reasonable pace. I like the acceleration particularly. His mentals in the defensive areas are good enough and he has some okay technicals for a defender, but he's nothing standout. Anyway, looking at our team for today's game, it's a pretty strong squad. We go with Young in goal. Of course, the Swede, trying to get him on the road to happiness. I'm hoping that eventually we can convince him it's worth signing a new contract. You can see his morale not abysmal anymore, only very poor. At left back, we go with Villalba. Very good player, the inverted wing back. We don't really play him as an inverted wing back, but he is right-footed. He does play out on the left-hand side. He's a very good player there for us. Alongside him, we have Mustafa and Frigier. Mustafa, it's time to improve, I feel like, the Egyptian. He's still making a lot of international appearances. He's a very good player. You can see 12 pros, not many cons. Apparently susceptible to injuries, but we've never really had that problem with him. Alongside him, of course, we have Frigier, the French centre-back. He's been at the club for a little while now since joining from Real Madrid. Marquez at right-back. In midfield, it's fairly standard with Smith, Bouchard and Mendes. I am going to give Taco the run out here. If you don't know about Taco, I don't know why we call him Taco. It's because he has two names that begin with T, and his last name starts sounding like Taco, doesn't it? Taquez. But he's a good player. Going to give him a start here. You can see he's started a few times in the Champions League for us. Never been absolutely incredible, but I do think he's a very good player for us, particularly defensively. If you look at his kind of stats and his attributes as a centre mid on defend, with the exception of his lack of aerial ability, he's a very good and capable player of playing there. And I think he'll slot into the squad quite nicely. Anyway, up front we go with the man of the moment, really, at the moment, Aaron Tuzon. 15 goals in 7 appearances in the Champions League. Not a bad return, really. And alongside him we go with Mitchell, the Brazilian, who, well, he's done well in the Champions League, really, hasn't he, over the last few years. Last year, you can see he got how many Champions League goals? He got 11 continental goals, so he got pretty much a goal a game. This year, we've not played him so much in Europe when we can avoid it. He's yet to score, but maybe he can get a big one for us here today. Anyway, let's get into this game. It's away from home at the Allianz Arena. Not going to be easy, but a win here would put us in a really, really strong situation, really, going into that Manchester City game. Let's see if we can avenge what happened last time against Bayern Munich when they beat us in the group stage. I believe last time we played Bayern Munich in the group stage was the year we qualified for the Europa League rather than kind of finishing top 2 in our Champions League group. Much like the last few years, somewhat secretly inside, I'm kind of hoping that we... We'll let this play out first because it's a set piece. I'm secretly hoping that we'll finish third in our group and get a Europa League spot. Can we defend the set piece here? Cross comes in. We can't. I mean, I don't know whether or not I can blame the marking or not. It's Abdullahat Diakate with the goal. Worth noting that players like Diakate, who are 16 or 17 at the start of the game, they're now in their 30s. So we are starting to get to the kind of age of regens now, where we'll pretty much have only regens left in our games in terms of players. Anyway, it was a great finish by the man. I'll give him that. Not bad for a more defensive centre mid. Bit of a thunder bastard in off the crossbar. Not great for us, but I'm hoping we can bounce back from that. Let's see what we can do here. Trying to apply pressure high up the pitch. Diakate, number 7, the man who scored the first goal, trying to play through a killer ball. And, well, we're still having to defend here. Contreras out wide and left back to Sturm. Now with Contreras, the left back again, to Sturm again. They're knocking the ball around nicely here, Bayern Munich. Can they find that killer pass? Options in the middle now. Cross comes in. They can, and it's Cabella with the goal. In fact, no, it's not. It's a Frigier own goal. The Frenchman. I mean, I know we're playing the Germans, but you don't have to wave the white flag there. You don't need to surrender, not yet. I'm sorry to all my French viewers. I love the French, but it's a bit easy, isn't it? It's a bit easy, that goal. That's all I'm going to say. It really should be better. And while they have another set piece, let's not make it 3-0 after 6 minutes, please. You'll notice that I am playing the 4-4-2 attack again today. I didn't really mention it, but we were playing it in the last game as well. Just because I feel like it suits us quite nicely in Europe. But at the moment, this game, whilst we play an attack, just isn't working for us. Although that said, can we break away now? 2's on. Options in the middle to Bouchard, and it's a highlight that I didn't need to be shown because the game's just given me false hope right there. Let's switch to the 4-4-2 counter. Hopefully I'm not about to do it a second too late. Maybe I am. Mustafa's given away a penalty. He's on a booking as well. Don't send him off, ref. You don't have to do this. You don't have to do... Okay, he's not sent him off. We've got a little bit lucky there, but this is now a penalty. In the 10th minute, Bayern Munich's 4th shot on the game this will be. It's a chance to make it 3-0. Young, can you go big? He can, he saves it, but the rebound is in. And for a second, I believe, Young, so unlucky in goal, the Swede. He saves the initial effort, but the striker, Abdwanda, I guess you'd say, or Abdwanda, that's probably how you say it, that sounds German, doesn't it? He gets the rebound. And there's not a lot Young can do. I mean, we've won our first game of the season in the Champions League 4-0. We've got some good results against Bayern in the past. A 2-2 draw, a particularly memorable result. I believe we lost to them 3-0 once. Let's not lose by any more than that if we can avoid it, as they do have another chance. That could have been 4-0 right there and then. But I mean, they've been clinical so far, I think it's fair to say, with their 4 clear-cut chances. Unfortunately for us, we've just been slow starting. I'm actually going to give the players a team talk here from the sideline and just tell them that we need to show more. I'm going to demand more from the boys. There comes a point in this game, though, that when really, I mentioned in the last game, goal difference, it's not a massive factor. I don't feel like in the group stage with the head-to-head record being the primary kind of differential between teams. So it might be worth starting to chase this game now, like go more attack. In fact, I'm going to go for it. We're going to go for it. We're going to make some changes early on in this game. I feel like we kind of have to. We don't really have a choice in this game. We'll play Mitchell at centre attack in mid, I think, even though he can't really play there. And we're going to go for the 4-4-2 attack. I feel like we have to... There's no point in sitting back at 3-0 down. Like, we can't just sit and feel sorry for ourselves. We're going to be better off fighting in this game and trying to get something more from it. Villalba, please don't get sent off, whatever you do. That's really not what we need. I did notice in the top right, Zagreb losing 4-0 to Manchester City. Now, we are in a tough group here, but if Zagreb can be the whipping boys of the group, of course, we beat them already fairly convincingly. We still have a pretty good chance, I hope, and you'd think, of at least making it to the Europa League. I love the way we're talking about the Europa League after 2 games of the Champions League group stage. Cabella there with the goal makes it 4-0. And, well, this performance, let me tell you now, it's not making me particularly excited about the fact we have to take on the holders of the Champions League in our next game, because it's 4-0 after 30 minutes and we've done absolutely nothing with the ball, which is never a particularly great sign. Let's see what we can do here. 2's on to Mendes. Cuts inside. Options out wide if he wants to. Bouchard tries to play that option out wide. Mitchell. Smith. I mean, is that Hamid Bar in goal? It is. I mean, we've not... Maybe that's why we're not trying today. Our former man, Hamid Bar, the Moroccan... I mean, he's probably watching this from over here thinking, thank God I switched. I might go and have a word with him at half-time, see if I can convince him to let in a few goals. I mean, to be fair, I talk now about planning corruption through, asking their goalkeeper to let in goals. We've not had a shot on him yet. He's not had to do anything. So it doesn't even matter if I tell him to let in the goals, because it's not going to make a difference. Although if you can let one in, Hamid Bar, that'd be nice. Remember all the nice stuff I did for you. You didn't have a club. You were a free agent. We let you come in. I sold you for 500 quid to Monaco, and now you're playing for Bayern Munich, probably on a few $100,000 a week. We'll have a look at him after the game, if I remember. Marquez, Bouchard, Mendes. 2's on. Let's go. The comeback's on. The comeback's on. So he's letting the first shot we had on goal. It's all coming up Millhouse now. Bouchard, Mendes, nice little through ball really. It's a shame that it's taken that to be our first shot of the game. Hamid Bar, I mean, if you're going to let in goals, mate, make it more obvious, less obvious than that, because we don't want a corruption investigation, you know, that's a hot topic in real world football right now. They have another shot. They almost scored again. Oh my gosh, it's a set piece as well. Can we just defend? Can we defend a set piece? I feel like that was that issue against Bayern Munich before now I think about it. Villalba on a booking. That leaves me nervous. Can we break? 2's on to Smith. Go on, my son. Options. I mean, it's an interesting dribbling attempt there by Smith. For a second, I thought we were about to grab a second before half-time and I was about to start taking this a little bit more seriously. But no, that's not what the highlight is. Villalba's getting sent off. He's gone. Well, I, for one, would like to issue a public apology to the fans now. It's not been our finest hour, I feel like it's fair to say. We've been better in the past. And, yeah, let's forget about this game now. You know, that whole idea of playing on the front foot. We'll stay on attacking, but we're going to drop a few roles a little bit more defensively. Because it's 5-1 at half-time and we're down to 10 men. It's not great. It's not great. We've had one shot at least and a goal. I mean, we've given the away fans something to cheer about. Apparently that was a good first half. Let's ask for more. What are you smoking, Danny? What are you smoking? That's why you're an assistant. That's why you're not the main manager. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Anyway, let's see what we can do now in the second half. We're 5-1 down. I don't feel like we have a lot to lose. The fact that Mustafa is booked leaves me a little bit concerned. I'm almost tempted to sub him off just to stop him from getting booked. I mean, I don't know if that's an incredible goal. I mean, as I say that, an incredible goal comes up at the bottom. So the game is telling me, Jack, it was incredible. It looked like the keeper could have done better. That's all I'm going to say. I might eat my words in a sec. Okay. We can't blame Young for that one. It was quite good. I believe our record defeat in Europe is 7-1 against PSG in the first ever game that we had. If we could avoid that, that'd be good, wouldn't it? I mean, we've only got City next week. I only got City. I say next week. It's whenever it is. It's soon. 6-1. It's not great. Not great. I mean, there's a debate to say certainly should have played more defensively when we went down a man. But by that point, it was a little bit too late. You know, if you go 3-0 down after 10 minutes in a group stage game, I mean, you've got to go on the attack, haven't you? I mean, we've scored 2. Hamid Bar, he was in on the plan as far as I'm concerned. 2 shots, 2 goals. It's 6-2. Paul Smith with the ball in. And, well, it's a nice little effort by Tuzon. It's his second goal of the game. At least he's going to get the golden boot this year in the competition. That's got to be something, right? I mean, can we score another? Why not? Mendes. I mean, he wasn't going to score a header, was he? The little Colombian right midfielder. But can we make something else happen? Bouchard, options in the middle. Frigier, the centre-back. I mean, hit it, my son. Why not? Mendes, please score. The comeback's on. Hamid Bar is an agent. He's an agent in the field. Let's see if we can get a few more. I mean, if we make a comeback now, I will publicly apologise to the team. However, scoring 3 goals now whilst down to 10 men would probably be the most unlikely thing and most mad thing I've ever seen in Football Manager. It's not happening. It's not. I'm going to say now, it's probably not going to happen. I don't want to crush the dreams of you guys, the viewers, and, you know, be really dismissive of our chances. But it's not great. And they've scored again to make it. I mean, it's an entertaining game, this one. It's been a long game for me as a viewer. You know, I've watched this game. I've come into it with some optimism. I mean, Zagreb are losing 6-0, so it could be worse. I mean, how many goals did we beat Zagreb by? Was it 4-0? We beat them 4-0 and City are beating them 6-0. So our game between City should be 2-0, right? That would be acceptable. Can we score again? Mendes. Well, Hamid Bar, you were meant to concede it. He's made a nice save there. It could have been 7-4 and, well, it's going to be full time now. I think we're finished showing goals, but it's been an entertaining game for the neutral. Not for me. I feel like I've had a breakdown halfway through this game. But no. I mean, it wasn't ideal, was it? No. Anyway, 7-3 the results. A little bit of a mad game. We actually came into it once we went down to 10 men. It's a shame it took that to spur the team on. I do feel like it is worth just taking a quick look at Hamid Bar. He didn't do a great job in goal, but he is there. Our old friend, he's got the same haircut and everything. I look at him with a little smile on my face. £18 million he's worth now, earning £91,000 a year. And we sold him for £600. It wasn't £500, my mistake. Of course, he was here at the club for basically 1 year. Yeah, I guess he's probably glad at his move after that result against Bayern. I'm hoping we can maybe get some revenge in the second leg, although that seems unlikely given that performance. But anyway, I will be back for the next episode, guys. It will probably be a double header against Manchester City away and at home. I'm hoping we can do a little bit better than we've done here. I mean, it can't go that much worse, I guess it's fair to say. Or maybe it can. Maybe it can. Either way, if you have enjoyed this episode, leave a like. Hopefully you enjoyed my commentary. I feel like this was quite a good commentary. You know, sometimes you sit, you hit stop recording, you go, that was a good one. I feel like this was a good one. For all the wrong reasons, perhaps, but I feel like we made it an entertaining defeat, to say the least. So yeah, that is all from me. If you've got any comments, leave them down below. Leave a like if you did enjoy. And other than that, it is me, Jack. And I'll talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.